Here. I hope you're able to hear me loud and clear. We are starting off with the stream at this point. And the live chat will continue as well in parallel in case somebody is there live on this chat room. So we'll start with the Nifty analysis and then proceed on for the Bank Nifty analysis. This is the weekly charts on Nifty, if you see. And just checking if you can hear me clearly. Thank you. Okay, so on if you see, this was that index candle, the budget day candle where we had a big breakout, and then there was a consolidation candle here the week before, and last week we breached on both sides, which is on the upside and downside of that consolidation candle as well. So on a weekly candle, the trend firmly still remains bullish until we are able to sort of break below this level of 14,750 areas, or even more prominently around 14,500 areas, which has been the sort of the previous top before this breakout. So 14,500 becomes your core reference from a weekly standpoint in terms of deciding whether the trend has changed or not. We use methods of volume profile and price action analysis. So we'll drill down to lower time frames as we go, and further use volume profile analysis to find out our zones of inflection, trend decider, and then the downside targets and upside targets. On the daily chart, we have last week, as I said, was a consolidation range, and we've sort of broken below that, and now is steadily holding below that range. The trend decider being around 130, 150 region. So this is something that will hold very important in terms of whether we're able to hold below or above this range to ensure that we are bullish or bearish for the subsequent week. Okay, so 130, 150 is a key level that I would really want to watch out for. I'll just color code this weekly on a different color for for our references. Yeah, so this is the level that we really want to watch out for. Okay, and coming back to our volume profile charts for the for the 30 minutes, we'll use the weekly profile analysis in this case. Just quickly, so now if you see, and the weekly analysis is available, I think somewhere on one of these panels. I forgot. Just a second, buddy. Yeah. So the fixed range analysis is available here. So last week, this was the week before, and this was the subsequent trend after that. So the composite for these 2 weeks is around 14, 130 areas, 120, 120 areas. If you see the composite range for these 2 weeks, so that becomes a key reference, as I said. So we would really look for a hold and above essentially this range to ensure that as a trend decider for this week, essentially to ensure whether we are able to hold below or above in the subsequent week. Okay, if you're able to push above this range and hold above, then we'll look for an upside play. If you're not able to do that and rotate from here, we'll look for a downside play on the downside. Okay, so we'll mark, let's say the mid of this range is roughly the trend decider, which is around 150. So that remains the trend decider for the week. If you're able to clear this range, we would look for a move up to 300, 340 levels, and thereafter we would look for we'll look for a further Fibonacci target of around I think 500 would be an appropriate Fibonacci target. We'll just proceed. I'm taking this as the last swing that we had. So this is a potential target on the upside in case we are able to clear those range and hold above. Okay. On the downside, I think the picture is much more clear in terms of where markets can go. So if we be able to push below and hold lower, we would look for a move to test the lows of last week as a first priority. Okay, and in case we're able to hold lower, this becomes a very key inflection. 755 areas is the next potential downside target. These are the areas we would look for from a weekly standpoint for the next week. Clear? Okay, now coming to the Bank Nifty charts. Bank Nifty weekly charts are a little, I would say, still more positive from a weekly trend because we have not breached previous week's low, which was around 370, 350. We would have made a low just closer to that, but have not breached that. So, but we also have a pretty good, pin bar candle essentially on the upside, which means a lot of selling pressure has been created. So unless we are able to take this level out of 36 600 650 areas, which was the high of the previous week, market, the general trend would be a short and rise from a weekly standpoint, essentially on the, and your key swing support is a lot lower because of this big candle. So key swing support remains at 38 800 900 areas, but from an immediate point of view, you would look for a inflection and break of this candles range, which is essentially the last week's candle, which was sort of a complete doji candle. So trade outside or outside this region on either side could be a further trend decider. On the daily charts, if you see, we have a few tops here which coincides with this last week range, which is around 600 650. So that's a good reference, and this is a good reference as well. So we'll continue to hold this region as a key reference, which is also largely Friday's candle for us essentially, okay, as potential breakout or a breakdown inflection points. Now we'll do the volume profile analysis on the weekly profiles. So it is on the weekly profile. So the charts we are taking is a 30-minute chart. The analysis is on the weekly profile. So essentially what we do is we plot the entire week's range. So if you see, last week started at on the 15th, and then on the 15th, and the week before started the 8th. So we'll take a range from there onwards. So this is last week range to plot the weekly profile, and then you have this 8th. This is the week of 8th essentially. So you have these two. I would say the weekly range is to plot your, and this is nothing but just the composite profile. So you can reduce the this is nothing but the composite profile for the week, for this entire view. So if you see the composite, make the key level, I think from both the weeks is around this level. The composite for these two weeks is around this level. So that could be treated as a trend decider. I would want to sort of look on the top side of this level, which is 370 400 areas, to figure out whether we want to hold above or below. So I would look for at least a push above this range, sort of 400 450, to see that whether we are able to hold above or below for a bullish bias. In case we are not able to cross this range, I would look for a bearish bias or a downside continuation. On the downsides, my primary targets would continue to sort of remain as one, the upside of this range for 34 900 areas, and then 34 500 is a solid support on the downside. So if we get to test and hold these regions, it's also a pullback candidate. But otherwise, I think hold this area as a key sort of an inflection zone to figure out whether we are bullish or bearish. Let's use this profile region. Yeah. Okay, on the upside, if you're able to cross above, we would look to move and test the VPOC, which is 960 900 areas, and above that we would look to test the previous week's, close to previous week's highs around 460 500 areas. I think that's the plan for Bank Nifty for next week. Pretty much this will close the stream now. We'll do a follow-up stream during the course of the week as we see markets and how they evolve. Wish you good luck for the next week. Thank you, folks.